After the wave mission, Naruto didn't just come back stronger. He came back, different. And three souls felt it: Hinata, Yugao, and even the Kyuubi herself. What started in silence turned into a secret that could shake Konoha. Chapter 1: Diary of Destiny. Title: The Chronicles of Naruto, The Harem Diaries. The Diary of Destiny. Chapter 1: The Gift of a New Soul. The streets of Konoha bustled with life, filled with the sounds of laughter, chatter, and the occasional shout of a training ninja. However, within a small, dimly lit apartment, a 5-year-old Naruto Uzumaki sat cross-legged on the floor, staring at a glowing book in his lap. To anyone else, it might have seemed like an ordinary day, but for Naruto, this book was anything but ordinary. It radiated an aura of power and mystery, and its sudden appearance had left him bewildered. It had all begun with a strange dream, a dream where he felt another presence enter his body. It wasn't Kurama, the fox spirit sealed inside him, but the remnants of a soul from another world. The memories that came with it were overwhelming, images of a man who was cunning, knowledgeable, and deeply flawed. This man had a sharp mind for politics, followed the philosophies of Chanakya Niti, and was a notorious pervert. When Naruto awoke, his mind buzzed with strange concepts and a disturbing clarity about the future, his own future, the future of the ninja world. And then, the diary system appeared. The book's first page read, "Welcome, Naruto Uzumaki. This diary system will help you shape your destiny. Write entries daily to earn exchange points, which can be used to acquire powerful skills, bloodlines, and tools. Write names of people in your life to unlock special interactions and opportunities. But beware, the future is not fixed." Naruto scratched his head. Exchange points, skills, destiny. The flood of knowledge from the soul within him began to take form. The man's understanding of the Naruto world, as he called it, was shocking. This wasn't just a story to Naruto, this was his life. Every fight, every loss, every heartbreak, and the loneliness he knew too well. But now, Naruto had the power to change it all. Flipping the diary open, he smirked. "If I'm gonna rewrite my future, I deserve some happiness too, right? Let's start with a harem. Hey." His grin widened as he began writing. "Day 1, my harem plans. I'll be the greatest ninja ever, and I'll make sure I'm not alone anymore. I'll protect everyone important to me, and I'll surround myself with the strongest and most beautiful kunoichi. Here's the list of my future wives. Hinata Hyuga, Yugao Azuki, Kurenai Yuhi, Iyame the ramen girl, Tsunami, Konan, Mei Terumi, Shizune, Yakumo Kurama, Shion, Koyuki, Hiku female, Yugito ni, Mabui, Samui, Tayuya, Karen Uzumaki, Sasama Fuma, Enko Mitarashi, Sum Inazuka, Hana Inazuka, Tamari, Haruna, Toki, Isaribi, Kamachi, Maki, Guren, Pakura, Shiho, Fuka, Kiyomi female Kyuubi." He paused, tapping the pen against his chin. "I'll add more later if I think of anyone else." The diary glowed faintly as he closed it, but Naruto paid it no mind. He leaned back with a grin. This'll be fun. What Naruto didn't know was that his diary system wasn't just for him. Unbeknownst to him, the girls whose names he wrote had all received their own versions of the diary, each one revealing their own connections to him. Elsewhere in Konoha, Hinata Hyuga sat in her room, staring at the glowing book that had appeared on her desk. Nervously, she opened it, her pale eyes scanning the first entry. The moment she saw her name under Harem, her face turned crimson. What is this? Naruto-kun likes me," she whispered, her heart racing. The diary revealed more than just his plans, it showed glimpses of Naruto's thoughts and dreams. Though she blushed at his boldness, warmth spread through her chest. Naruto saw her in a way no one else ever had. Kurenai Yuhi frowned at the strange book that appeared in her quarters. Flipping it open, she skimmed through the entry. "A harem, with me in it," she muttered, her cheeks heating. That little brat. Yet something about his words intrigued her. How did he know so much about her? And about the future? Yugao Azuki sat on a rooftop, holding her own copy of the diary. She read Naruto's entry with a smirk. "Ambitious, aren't we, kid?" she muttered. "Still, how does he know me?" Across the ninja world, other kunoichi found themselves in similar situations. From Ayame to Mei Terumi, from Tamari to Sume Inuzuka, all the women whose names Naruto wrote now possessed diaries of their own. While many thought the idea of a 5-year-old declaring them his future wives was ridiculous, the glimpses of the future within the diary compelled them to read further. Back with Naruto. Naruto spent the next hour exploring the system, marveling at its features. He discovered his stats. Name: Naruto Uzumaki. Age: 5. Chakra: high. Skills: Basic Academy Taijutsu incomplete. Points: 50. Not bad, he said, scrolling through the shop. He spotted various jutsu listed, but nothing that he recognized as the Shadow Clone Jutsu. I wonder what I can learn. Alright, he cheered, pumping his fist. This is gonna be awesome. As he practiced his basic taijutsu, a faint feeling gnawed at him. Something about the diary system felt off. He shook his head, dismissing the thought. I'm just overthinking it. I've got a harem to build and a ninja career to kickstart. With renewed determination, he began to practice his punches and kicks, imagining the day he would become strong enough to protect everyone he cared about. Meanwhile, in the Hidden Leaf Village, Hinata sat in her room, the diary open in front of her. She couldn't shake the feeling of disbelief mixed with hope. Naruto-kun likes me, she whispered again, her heart fluttering. The diary revealed snippets of Naruto's thoughts, his dreams of becoming Hokage, and his desire to protect those he cared about. Each entry made her heart swell with admiration. What if I could help him? She pondered, her resolve strengthening. I want to be strong for him. With newfound determination, she began to write her own entry in the diary, detailing her training goals and aspirations. Kurenai Yuhi, on the other hand, was deep in thought. She paced her quarters, the diary clutched tightly in her hands. This is absurd, she muttered, but her curiosity was piqued. How does he know so much about me? As she read further, she found herself intrigued by the idea of being part of his life. Maybe I should keep an eye on him, she decided, a smirk forming on her lips. After all, he might need a mentor. Yugao Azuki, perched on the rooftop, was also contemplating her next move. Should I confront him? She mused, glancing at the village below. Or should I let him come to me? The thought of being part of Naruto's plans excited her. He's got guts, that's for sure, she chuckled, her competitive spirit ignited. I'll have to see just how serious he is about this harem business. As the days passed, Naruto continued to write in his diary. Each entry brought him closer to understanding the world around him and the people in it. He wrote about his training, his dreams, and the bonds he wished to forge. Day 5, training is going great. I can feel myself getting stronger every day. I can't wait to show everyone what I can do. He felt a sense of purpose growing within him. The more he wrote, the more he realized that this diary was not just a tool for his ambitions, it was a way to connect with others, to share his journey. Meanwhile, the kunoichi were also busy. Hinata trained diligently, pushing herself to become stronger. Kurenai began to observe Naruto from a distance, intrigued by his determination. Yugao started to drop hints in their interactions, testing the waters of Naruto's feelings. Each woman began to feel the pull of destiny, their lives intertwining with Naruto's in ways they never expected. Chapter 2, Secrets Unveiled, Chaos Awakened. Chapter 2, Secrets Unveiled, Chaos Awakened. Naruto Uzumaki's life had already started changing, though he didn't realize how much his newfound diary system was affecting others. While he focused on exploring its features and dreaming of the future, his written words were leaving ripples across Konoha and beyond. The system shop, Naruto's discovery. Naruto stared at the glowing diary after completing another entry. Suddenly, a notification appeared. System shop unlocked. Exchange points available, 50. Whoa, a shop, Naruto exclaimed, his curiosity piqued. With a thought, he opened the shop interface. The categories included techniques, weapons, bloodlines, miscellaneous items. His eyes sparkled as he scrolled through the items. Some stood out immediately. Bloodline Purification Potion 500 points. Purifies and enhances the user's bloodline, unlocking hidden potential and removing genetic defects. Starter Pack, free. Includes essential items for beginners to grow stronger. Bloodline Purification Potion. Naruto murmured, intrigued. That sounds awesome. But 500 points. That's way too expensive right now. The starter pack notification blinked insistently. Clicking on it, Naruto grinned as the rewards were revealed. Starter pack rewards. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Enma Legendary Katana from One Piece. Basic Armament Haki. Basic Observation Haki. Basic Conqueror's Haki. Sun Breathing Style. As the knowledge of these techniques flooded his mind, Naruto clenched his fists in excitement. This is incredible. With these, I'll become strong enough to protect everyone. He summoned Enma, marveling at its craftsmanship. Its blade gleamed in the sunlight, radiating power. Next, he created 3 perfect clones using the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Training's going to be so much easier now. He laughed, feeling the thrill of potential coursing through him. He tested sun breathing, feeling his movements grow sharper and his body fill with warmth. Each swing of Enma felt more precise, more powerful. His resolve to change his destiny burned brighter than ever. The girls' reactions to the system shop. Unbeknownst to Naruto, the diaries given to the girls had also started granting them points, though fewer than him. As they opened their glowing books, they saw notifications. System shop unlocked. Exchange points available, 20. Kurenai Yuhi frowned as she explored the shop. What is this? Techniques, weapons, and purification potions. Is this real? And why am I getting points from a child's diary entries? Yugao Izuki tapped the bloodline section, curiosity etched on her face. Bloodline purification potion. If this is real, it could help the village tremendously. But, how does Naruto have access to something like this? Enko Mitarashi smirked as she scrolled through the miscellaneous items section. This brat's messing with forces he doesn't understand, but hey, if I get cool stuff out of it, who's complaining? Sume Inuzuka and Hana Inuzuka were equally perplexed. This shop's offering things that could make any shinobi stronger, Sume muttered. But why does it revolve around Naruto? Despite their confusion, the allure of the shop left them intrigued and wary. Each kunoichi felt a mix of concern and excitement, knowing that the implications of this system could be monumental. Naruto's diary entry. With the sun setting over Konoha, Naruto settled down to write his next entry in the diary, his heart racing with anticipation. Diary entry number 2. Age, 5. Exchange points earned, 50. Harem list additions. Ayame. She's always been so kind to me. I've realized she's not just my big sister figure, she's someone I want to protect forever. Kiyomi. Kyuubi's new name. I think she deserves one after everything. Maybe we can become friends. Plans for the future. Thanks to the starter pack, I've gotten stronger. With Shadow Clone Jutsu, Sun Breathing, and Enma, I'll train harder than ever. The Uchiha clan massacre is coming in 2 years when I'm 7. I can't let it happen the way it does in the future. I'll stop Danzo, save the innocent, and make sure the village doesn't fall into darkness. The third Hokage is kind, but he's not a great leader. He let too many bad things happen. When I become Hokage, I'll change everything and protect everyone, even those who hate me. End of entry. Ayame's reaction. At Ichiraku Ramen, Ayame had just finished closing up when her diary glowed again. As she read Naruto's entry, her face flushed. Ayame isn't just my big sister anymore. I want her to be part of my harem because she's kind, beautiful, and deserves someone who'll protect her. Harem. Naruto, you little brat. Ayame stammered, her cheeks burning. She couldn't believe what she was reading, but as she reread his words, she saw the sincerity behind them. Despite his childish tone, it was clear Naruto genuinely cared for her. He's such a sweet kid, even if he's a bit of a pervert, she murmured, closing the diary with a small smile. The thought of being part of his plans filled her with warmth, and she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in his growth. Kiyomi's transformation. Deep within Naruto's mindscape, Kurama stirred restlessly. What is this feeling? He growled. Suddenly, golden light surrounded him, and his massive form began to shift. No. What's happening to me? Kurama roared, panic rising within him. When the light faded, he stood transformed, a humanoid figure with long crimson hair, golden eyes, and 9 tails swaying behind her. She instinctively knew her new name, Kiyomi. What has that brat done to me? She muttered, her voice trembling with anger and confusion. Despite her transformation, Naruto remained blissfully unaware of what had happened within his mindscape. Kiyomi felt a strange connection to Naruto, a bond that transcended their previous relationship. I'll have to keep an eye on him, she thought, her anger slowly giving way to curiosity. What is he planning? The Kunoichi react to the Uchiha clan massacre. As the senior Kunoichi read Naruto's diary entries, their shock was palpable. Kurenai Yuhi whispered, the Uchiha clan massacre. How could he possibly know about this? And his plans to interfere, this boy is dangerous. Yugao Azuki frowned. If what he's written is true, it could change everything. But can we trust him to handle it responsibly? Enko Mitarashi smirked nervously. Calling the Hokage incompetent in planning to stop a massacre. This kid's got guts, I'll give him that. Sume Inuzuka and Hana Inuzuka exchanged grim looks. That brat's poking at things he doesn't fully understand, Sume muttered. But if he can prevent the massacre, we might not have a choice but to help him, Hana added, her voice filled with concern. The Kunoichi began to discuss their options, weighing the risks of intervening in Naruto's plans. They knew that if he was serious about changing the future, they would need to be prepared for the consequences. Naruto's determination. Unaware of the chaos his diary was causing, Naruto trained tirelessly in a secluded clearing. His clones sparred with him, helping him master sun breathing and haki. I'll save the Uchiha clan, he vowed, his eyes burning with resolve. I'll fix everything and become the greatest Hokage ever. As he swung Enma through the air, cutting cleanly through a tree, he felt a surge of power. Each swing brought him closer to his goal, and he could almost envision the day he would stand as Hokage, protecting the village he loved. But as he practiced, a faint feeling gnawed at him. Something about the diary system felt off. He shook his head, dismissing the thought. I'm just overthinking it. I've got a harem to build and a ninja career to kickstart. With renewed determination, he began to practice his punches and kicks, imagining the day he would become strong enough to protect everyone he cared about. The Kunoichi's decision. Back in Konoha, the Kunoichi gathered to discuss their next steps. Kurenai took charge, her voice steady. We need to keep an eye on Naruto. If he truly intends to stop the Uchiha clan massacre, we must ensure he has the support he needs. We can't let him face this alone. Yugao nodded in agreement. He may be young, but he's shown remarkable insight. If he's aware of the future, we need to understand how he came to know about it. We should monitor his actions closely and be ready to intervene if necessary. Enko crossed her arms, a smirk playing on her lips. This could be fun, watching the little brat try to change fate. I'm in. Sume sighed, her expression serious. We need to be cautious. If the Uchiha clan remains unaware of his intentions, any misstep could lead to disaster. We must ensure that Naruto doesn't act recklessly. Hana nodded, her brow furrowed. Let's form a plan. We can gather information without revealing ourselves. If he's truly determined to change the future, we need to be prepared for whatever comes next. As the Kunoichi strategized, Naruto continued his training, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around him. Each day brought him closer to his goals, and with the power of the diary system at his fingertips, he felt invincible. But the weight of the future loomed over him, and he was determined to face it head-on, no matter the cost. Chapter 3. The Path to True Peace. Chapter 3. The Path to True Peace. Naruto Uzumaki sat cross-legged on the floor of his small apartment, a faint glow illuminating his face from the diary system interface hovering before him. He had just made his third entry, a bold declaration that outlined his vision for unifying the shinobi world. However, the plan forming in his mind went far beyond simple words. With knowledge of the Uchiha clan massacre, he had a unique opportunity to prevent the tragedy while simultaneously positioning himself as a future Hokage. Naruto's diary entry. Diary entry number 3. Age: 5. Exchange points earned: 100. Harem list additions: none for now. Focused on my plans. Plans for the future. The Uchiha clan massacre is one of the darkest moments in Konoha's history. It was caused by fear, politics, and a lack of leadership. I can't let it happen. I'll stop the massacre before it begins, but I'll use the knowledge of it to gain support from the clan heads. If I can show them that I'm willing to stand for justice and peace, even against the elders and the Hokage, they'll see me as a future leader. The plan is simple. Gather information about the Uchiha clan and the elders. Expose the root causes of the conflict and prevent the massacre. Position myself as the protector of Konoha's clans. Use the momentum to become Hokage and begin unifying the shinobi world. I'll need to be careful. If the elders or Danzo suspect me, they'll target me. But I'm not afraid. I'll do whatever it takes to save the Uchiha and bring true peace to the world. End of entry. The reactions. Kurenai Yuhi. Kurenai set down the diary, her hands trembling slightly. He's planning to stop the massacre. She whispered. At 5 years old, he's already thinking like a leader. But going against Danzo and the elders, that's a dangerous game. She frowned, conflicted. If he succeeds, though, he might actually be able to change the world. Yugao Azuki. Yugao stared at the glowing diary with wide eyes. Preventing the Uchiha massacre. That's unthinkable, she said softly. But if he can do it, he'll save countless lives, and earn the loyalty of Konoha's clans. Her admiration for Naruto grew, though she couldn't ignore the risk he was taking. Enko Mitarashi. Enko leaned back in her chair, her usual smirk replaced by a thoughtful expression. So, the kid's planning to stop a massacre and make himself a hero in the process, she muttered. Bold move, brat. But if anyone's crazy enough to pull it off, it's you. Shizune. Shizune paced back and forth, the diary clutched in her hands. Preventing the massacre would change everything, she said. But going against the elders and Danzo. Naruto, do you even realize how dangerous that is? She sighed, worried but hopeful. Still, if anyone can do it, it's you. Sume and Hana Inuzuka. Sume's eyes narrowed as she read the diary, her grip tightening. This kid's not just talking, he's planning to act, she growled. Stopping the massacre and using it to gain power. That's a dangerous gamble. Hana nodded, her expression serious. But if he pulls it off, he'll be the strongest ally the clans have ever had. Ayame. Ayame's hands trembled as she read Naruto's plan. Stopping the massacre. Naruto, you're so brave, she whispered. But you're putting yourself in so much danger. She couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and fear. Kiyomi the Kyuubi. In Naruto's mindscape, Kiyomi chuckled, her crimson hair shimmering as she read his entry. Stopping a massacre to position yourself as a future leader. She said. You're more cunning than I gave you credit for, brat. Her respect for Naruto grew, though she couldn't help but wonder how far he was willing to go. Hinata Hyuga. Hinata's cheeks flushed as she read Naruto's entry. Stopping the Uchiha massacre. Naruto-kun, you're amazing, she murmured. I want to help you achieve your dream. Her admiration for him grew even stronger. Tamari. Tamari read the diary with a skeptical expression. Stopping the Uchiha massacre. That's insane, she muttered. But if he can do it, he'll change everything. Mei Terumi. In Kurigakure, Mei read her diary with a faint smile. Preventing a massacre to gain power. Now that's a bold move, she said softly. Naruto Uzumaki, you're full of surprises. Konan. In Omegakure, Konan stared at her diary in silence. As she processed Naruto's entry, a realization struck her. He's an Uzumaki, just like Nagato, she whispered, her eyes widening in shock. Could it be that he carries the same potential? If he's anything like Nagato, he might be capable of great things, or great destruction. She felt a mix of emotions, hope, fear, and a sense of connection to this boy she had never met. What does this mean for the future? She pondered, her mind racing with possibilities. If he can prevent the massacre, perhaps he can change the course of history. Naruto's plan in action. Naruto activated the planner feature of the diary system, his mind racing as he mapped out the steps he needed to take. Gather information. Using the shadow clone jutsu from his starter pack, Naruto would create clones to gather intel on the Uchiha and the elders. He needed to understand the full scope of the conspiracy. Analyze the situation. Naruto would spend time observing the Uchiha clan from a distance, noting their interactions and the growing tension within the village. He needed to be aware of the dynamics at play. Prepare for future meetings. While he wouldn't approach the clan heads just yet, Naruto would strategize on how to present his findings and ideas when the time was right. Build alliances. He would focus on strengthening his relationships with those who might support him in the future, even if it meant starting small. Stay under the radar. Naruto knew that he had to be cautious. If the elders or Danzo caught wind of his plans, it could jeopardize everything. This is my chance, Naruto said, his blue eyes gleaming with determination. I'll save the Uchiha and change the future. And I'll do it my way. The gathering of information. The next day, Naruto set his plan into motion. He created multiple shadow clones, each tasked with gathering information about the Uchiha clan and the political landscape of Konoha. As the clones dispersed, Naruto felt a surge of excitement. This was the first step toward his goal. In the heart of Konoha, the Uchiha clan's compound loomed large. Naruto's clones infiltrated the area, observing the clan members and their interactions. They noted the tension in the air, the whispers of dissent, and the growing fear among the Uchiha. It was clear that something was brewing, and Naruto needed to act quickly. As he waited for his clones to return with information, Naruto reflected on the weight of his mission. He was determined to prevent the massacre, but he also understood the complexities of the situation. The Uchiha were proud and strong, but they were also isolated and misunderstood. If he could find a way to bridge the gap between them and the rest of Konoha, he might just succeed in his quest for peace. The return of the clones. After a few hours, Naruto's clones returned, each one sharing valuable insights. They reported on the Uchiha's growing discontent with the village and the whispers of rebellion that echoed through the clan. The elders were tightening their grip on power, and the Uchiha felt increasingly cornered. "This is worse than I thought," Naruto said, his brow furrowing. "If I don't act fast, the situation will spiral out of control." He knew he had to be strategic. The next steps would require careful planning and execution. He would need to gather more information, understand the motivations of the elders, and find a way to communicate with the Uchiha without raising suspicion. "This is just the beginning," Naruto declared, determination burning in his heart. "I won't let fear dictate our future. I'll find a way to bring everyone together." Chapter 4. Weight of Training and the Path Ahead. Chapter 4. The Weight of Training and the Path Ahead. Naruto Uzumaki sat cross-legged on the floor of his small apartment, a faint glow illuminating his face from the diary system interface hovering before him. His fingers danced across the screen as he prepared to make his latest entry, reflecting on the past 6 months of intense training. At just 5 years old, he had dedicated himself to mastering haki, sun breathing, and chakra chains, pushing the limits of his physical abilities. He had also begun to train in Rasengan and explore his wind affinity, while bravely venturing into the complexities of other elemental affinities. As he wrote, he felt a mix of pride and determination. He had discovered the Uzumaki clan library, a treasure trove of knowledge, but the cost was steep, 10,000 exchange points. Undeterred, he had begun purchasing books one by one, eager to learn more about his heritage and the jutsu that could empower him. Naruto's diary entry number 185. Age, 5. Exchange points earned, 4,000. Harem list additions. None for now. Focused on my training and future plans. Training progress. In the past 6 months, I've pushed myself harder than ever before. My haki training has improved my perception and combat abilities, while sun breathing has given me a new perspective on fighting. The chakra chains are becoming second nature, and I feel more in control of my power than ever. I've also been working on the Rasengan and exploring my wind affinity, but it's been a challenge to branch out to other elemental affinities. It's difficult, but I won't give up. Every day is a step closer to becoming stronger. I found the Uzumaki clan library in the system shop. It's costly, 10k exchange points, but I've started buying books one at a time. I need to learn everything I can about my clan's history and techniques. I also discovered something intriguing. The mystical biwa, Nakim's biwa from Demon Slayer, is available in the shop for 5k exchange points. It's similar to my father's jutsu, allowing me to transport to different locations by opening doors to a subspace. I'm 1k short, but I'll find a way to earn it. I want to create a secret base in that subspace, a place where I can train and plan without interruption. End of entry. The reactions. As Naruto finished his entry, a few of the girls who had been secretly reading his diary entries in their own copies were left in a state of shock and admiration. Kurenai Yuhi. Kurenai set down her diary, her heart racing. He's training harder than ever and planning to create a secret base. This kid is incredible, she whispered to herself. He's growing into a true leader. The thought of Naruto taking such ambitious steps at his young age filled her with pride. She couldn't help but wonder what other plans he had in store. Yugao Azuki. Yugao's eyes widened. He's not just focused on strength, he's thinking strategically about his future. The mystical Biwa, that could change everything for him, she mused, feeling a swell of pride for the young ninja. If he can master that, he'll have an advantage unlike any other. She felt a protective instinct rise within her. He was not just a child anymore, he was becoming a formidable shinobi. Sume Inuzuka. Sume's brow furrowed as she read. He's serious about this training. If he manages to master all these techniques, he'll be unstoppable, she said, her voice tinged with admiration. But he's also putting a lot of pressure on himself. She respected his determination but wished he would also allow himself to enjoy life amidst the training. Hana Inuzuka. Hana nodded in agreement. It's amazing how dedicated he is. I just hope he takes care of himself in the process, she added, her expression softening. He needs to remember that he's still a kid. Balance is important. The thought of Naruto pushing himself too hard worried her. Ayame. Ayame's eyes sparkled with admiration. Naruto, you're so brave and determined. I can't believe you're working on all of this alone, she whispered, feeling a mix of pride and concern for him. I wish I could help you more. She felt a longing to support him in his endeavors, to be part of his journey. Hinata Hyuga. Hinata's cheeks flushed as she read about his training. Naruto-kun, you're amazing, she murmured, a warm smile spreading across her face. I want to support you in any way I can. Her heart swelled. Mei Terumi. In the hidden mist, Mei chuckled softly. Creating a secret base. Now that's resourceful. He's not just a dreamer, he's a planner, she reflected, impressed by Naruto's ambition. At such a young age, he's already thinking ahead. I can't wait to see how he develops. She admired his foresight and determination, recognizing the potential he held. Konan. In Omegakure, Konan felt a connection to Naruto as she read. He's carrying the weight of his clan's legacy while forging his own path. It's a heavy burden, but he's strong, she thought, a sense of hope blossoming in her heart. If he can navigate this journey, he might just change the world. She understood the struggles of carrying a legacy and felt a kinship with him. Kiyomi the Kyuubi. In Naruto's mindscape, Kiyomi smirked, her crimson hair shimmering. He's ambitious and clever. If he can master all these techniques, he'll be a force to be reckoned with, she mused, her respect for him deepening. But he must tread carefully, power comes with its own set of challenges. She knew the path to strength was fraught with danger, and she hoped he would remain vigilant. The next steps. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was determined to face them head-on. He stood up, stretching his limbs as he prepared for another day of training. I'll earn those exchange points and get that mystical biwa, he declared to himself, a fierce determination burning in his blue eyes. I'll create a place where I can train without limits and prepare for whatever comes next. As he stepped outside, the sun shone brightly over Konoha, illuminating the path ahead. Naruto felt the weight of his ambitions, but he also felt the support of those who believed in him. With each step, he was not just training to become stronger, he was forging a future where he could protect his friends, his village, and ultimately, the world. The journey continues. With his mind set on his goals, Naruto began to strategize how he would earn the necessary points. He would take on missions, train harder, and perhaps even seek out allies who could help him in his quest. The thought of creating a secret base excited him. It would be a sanctuary where he could hone his skills and develop his plans without fear of interruption. As he moved through the village, he felt the familiar energy of Konoha surrounding him. He was not alone in this journey, he had friends, allies, and a legacy to uphold. With each passing day, he would grow stronger, not just for himself, but for everyone who believed in him. Chapter 5. Awakening of Legacy. Chapter 5. Awakening the Legacy. Months had passed since Naruto first encountered the diary system and began shaping his plans for the future. At only 5 years old, he had already set his sights on monumental goals, preventing the Uchiha clan massacre, unifying the shinobi villages, and becoming Hokage. The diary system had become his closest ally, providing him with exchange points, new powers, and tools to guide his journey. Today, the culmination of one of his earliest goals was finally at hand. Naruto buys the purification potion. Naruto sat cross-legged in his apartment, his heart racing. The glowing interface of the system shop floated before him, displaying the item he had been saving for over the past few months. Item: Purification Potion. Description: purifies a person's bloodline, awakening dormant abilities and potential. Removes any impurities or suppressions in the user's lineage. Cost: 500 exchange points. Naruto grinned as he tapped the purchase button. A small vial materialized in his hand, filled with a golden liquid that seemed to shimmer with raw energy. "This is it," he muttered, uncorking the vial. Without hesitation, he drank the potion in one gulp. The effect was immediate. A fiery sensation coursed through his veins, as though his very blood was igniting. Naruto clutched his chest, gasping as his body underwent a profound transformation. His whisker marks glowed faintly, and his chakra surged, growing denser and more potent. In his mindscape, Kyuubi watched the transformation with wide eyes. "What's happening to you, brat?" she muttered, a hint of awe in her voice. As the energy settled, Naruto opened his eyes, which now gleamed with a sharp, almost otherworldly clarity. He felt different, stronger. Naruto's new abilities. The diary system pinged, displaying a summary of his changes. Bloodline purification complete. Awakened abilities. Chakra chains, capable of binding and restraining foes or objects with chakra-infused chains. Healing bites, enhanced regenerative abilities that allow him to heal wounds rapidly. Mind's Eye of Kagura, a sensory ability that allows him to detect and perceive chakra signatures over vast distances. Transformation. Full-blooded Uzumaki. All traces of impurities removed. Lifespan extended significantly. Naruto flexed his hands, feeling the raw power coursing through him. His senses were sharper than ever, and a faint glow of vitality radiated from his body. "I feel amazing," he murmured. Naruto's diary entry number 100. That night, Naruto sat at his desk, writing in his diary. Diary entry number 100. Age: 5. Exchange points earned: 50. Updates: I finally bought the purification potion. My Uzumaki bloodline is fully awakened. I can feel the chakra chains inside me, ready to manifest. My healing abilities are enhanced, and I've unlocked the Mind's Eye of Kagura. With this, I can sense chakra across vast distances. Yesterday, the old man, the third Hokage, came to my house. He brought me the form to join the Shinobi Academy. He said I'll start in 1 month. My plan to unify the shinobi world is progressing. To do this, I need Tsunade Senju's support. She's the Senju clan head, and her influence will be crucial. End of entry. Reactions to the diary entry. Shizune. Shizune read the diary entry late at night, her heart racing. He's planning to bring Lady Tsunade back to Konoha. She murmured. If he's right, her support could be invaluable for the village, and for him. She bit her lip, conflicted. But convincing her won't be easy. Lady Tsunade hates the village leadership. For the first time in years, Shizune felt a flicker of hope that they might one day return to Konoha. Kurenai Yuhi. Kurenai read the diary entry, her jaw dropping as she processed the information. Chakra chains. Healing abilities. And he's only 5 years old. She muttered. This kid is already stronger than most genin, and he hasn't even joined the academy yet. She shook her head in disbelief. If he keeps growing like this, he really might become Hokage someday. Yugao Azuki. Yugao stared at the diary in stunned silence. Full-blooded Uzumaki. He's unlocked abilities that most shinobi can only dream of, she said softly. And he's already planning to bring Tsunade back to the village. Her respect for Naruto deepened, though she couldn't help but feel a pang of envy at his rapid progress. Enko Midarashi. Enko read the diary with a mix of awe and frustration. Damn, brat. You've got chakra chains and a mind-sensing ability now. You're going to make us all look bad. She muttered, half joking. Still, she couldn't deny her admiration. You're one crazy kid, but I think you might just pull this off. Mei Terumi. In Kurigakure, Mei read her diary with a thoughtful expression. Awakening the full power of the Uzumaki bloodline at such a young age. Naruto Uzumaki, you're shaping up to be a truly remarkable person, she murmured. If you ever come to Kiri, I'd love to see your abilities firsthand. Kyuubi the Kyuubi. In the mindscape, Kyuubi crossed her arms, a faint smirk on her lips. So, you've awakened your full Uzumaki potential, huh? Not bad, brat, she said. But don't let it go to your head. You've still got a long way to go if you want to master those abilities. She paused, her smirk fading slightly. Still, I'm impressed. Tamari. In Suna, Tamari read the diary with a mix of shock and curiosity. He's already this strong, and he hasn't even started at the academy yet. She muttered. If he keeps growing at this rate, he might become someone worth watching. Naruto's planning. Over the next few days, Naruto focused on refining his strategy to gain Tsunade's support and prepare for his academy debut. Bringing Tsunade back, Naruto decided to write more entries highlighting Konoha's need for Tsunade's leadership. Mastering new abilities. Naruto created dozens of shadow clones each day to practice with his chakra chains and the mind's eye of Kagura. He quickly learned to manifest the chains and use them to bind objects and opponents. Each day brought new challenges, but with each challenge, he felt himself growing stronger and more adept at controlling his abilities. As he trained, he began to experiment with the Healing Bite's ability, testing its limits on minor injuries he inflicted upon himself. To his delight, he found that he could heal cuts and bruises almost instantaneously, a skill that would undoubtedly come in handy in the future. Chapter 6, The Red Dawn. Chapter 6, The Red Dawn. Naruto Uzumaki stretched lazily as the morning sun filtered through the tattered curtains of his small apartment. His fiery red hair, a recent and unexplained change, glinted in the light. The transformation had surprised even him when it first happened, and his body had felt strange for hours afterward. A sudden knock at the door made Naruto jump. Quickly pulling on his orange jacket, he opened the door to find the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, standing there with a kind smile and an envelope in hand. Old man Hokage. Naruto greeted, his trademark grin lighting up his face. What brings you here? Hiruzen chuckled softly. I thought I'd deliver your monthly allowance personally this time. I had some extra time today. Really? That's awesome. Thanks, old man, Naruto exclaimed, taking the envelope eagerly. May I come in? Hiruzen asked. Naruto hesitated briefly before shrugging. Sure, but it's kinda messy. Hiruzen's visit. Hiruzen stepped into the modest apartment, his gaze immediately falling on Naruto's hair. The striking red locks were a vivid reminder of Kushina Uzumaki's lineage, the same fiery hue that once symbolized her indomitable will and powerful chakra. How have you been feeling, Naruto? Hiruzen asked casually as he took a seat. Okay, I guess, Naruto replied, scratching his head sheepishly. Yesterday was kinda weird, though. I got super dizzy, and when I woke up, my hair looked like this. Weird, huh? Hiruzen studied the boy closely, noting the energy radiating from him. It might be a sign of your Uzumaki heritage. Their chakra and vitality are legendary. If anything else unusual happens, let me know immediately. Naruto nodded enthusiastically. Sure thing, old man. Hiruzen stayed a little longer, chatting lightly with Naruto before taking his leave. Despite the cheerful banter, his mind was heavy with concern. Naruto's secret moves. The moment the Hokage left, Naruto locked the door and let out a deep sigh. His grin faded, replaced by a calculating look that seemed far beyond his years. Man, he really thinks I don't know anything, Naruto muttered to himself. Unknown to Hiruzen, Naruto was far from the clueless child he pretended to be. Thanks to an otherworldly soul that had fused with his own, Naruto had knowledge of the future and a sharp intellect. Naruto smirked as he reached under his bed and pulled out a sealed scroll. Activating it with a small pulse of chakra, a shadow clone popped into existence. Alright, you know what to do, Naruto instructed. The clone nodded, transforming into a small book before disappearing in a puff of smoke. The original Naruto smirked as he looked at the memory-sharing book clone now hidden in the Hokage's office. He'd been spying on the old man for weeks, gathering as much information as possible. The Hokage's office. Hiruzen sighed as he sat behind his desk. He had barely settled in when the door opened, revealing Danzo Shimura. Hiruzen, Danzo began, his tone sharp and direct. Danzo, Hiruzen replied evenly. What is it this time? I heard about the boy, Danzo said bluntly, his one visible eye narrowing. Hiruzen's gaze darkened. What about him? Don't feign ignorance, Danzo snapped. Naruto's sudden transformation confirms the awakening of the Uzumaki bloodline. His potential is immense, and combined with his status as a Jinchuriki, he is far too valuable to leave unchecked. Hiruzen leaned back in his chair, his eyes cold. Naruto is not a tool, Danzo. He is a child. Danzo stepped closer, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. A child who holds the nine tails and now shows signs of an awakened bloodline. He could become Konoha's ultimate weapon under my guidance. And strip away his humanity in the process. Hiruzen shot back. I won't allow it. You're being sentimental, Danzo growled. You let Minato's son run wild, and now you risk the safety of the village. Enough. Hiruzen barked, rising to his feet. Naruto is under my protection, and I will not hand him over to you. This discussion is over. Danzo glared at the Hokage for a long moment before turning on his heel and leaving. Naruto's spying success. Back at his apartment, Naruto dispelled his shadow clone, and the memories of the conversation flooded his mind. So that creepy old bandage guy wants to turn me into a weapon, huh? Naruto muttered, his eyes narrowing. Good thing the old man still has a spine. Despite his relief, Naruto knew this was only the beginning. Danzo wasn't the type to give up easily, and Hiruzen's protective stance wouldn't last forever. I need to be ready, Naruto said to himself. If I don't stay one step ahead, that guy's gonna mess up everything. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Guess it's time to step up my game. Hiruzen's growing concerns. Hiruzen sat in his office, staring out the window. Naruto's transformation was a stark reminder of his potential, and the dangers that came with it. Perhaps I should visit him more often, Hiruzen murmured. Danzo won't stop, and Naruto deserves more than just protection. He needs guidance. Despite his resolve, a nagging thought lingered. Naruto's cheerful demeanor was convincing, but there was something in the boy's eyes, a spark of awareness that seemed far too mature for his age. Whatever you're hiding, Naruto, Hiruzen murmured, I hope it's for the good of the village. Naruto's determination. Naruto, meanwhile, had no intention of revealing his hand. As he looked out the window, his red hair catching the sunlight, he clenched his fists. They think they know me, Naruto said softly. But they don't have a clue. With his knowledge of the future and the memories of his otherworldly soul guiding him, Naruto was determined to shape his destiny on his terms. And if that meant outsmarting the Hokage and Danzo, so be it. Sorry for the short chapter. Currently, my mind is on the next chapter of the Eminence story. Give suggestions on whether I should introduce Hinata and Kyuubi, the first girls to his harem early or after graduation. Chapter 7 The Fox's Revelation. Chapter 7 The Fox's Revelation. Naruto sat cross-legged on his apartment floor, his red hair falling into his eyes as he closed them tightly. The memories from his otherworldly soul told him about the beast sealed within him, an unfathomable entity of destruction called the nine-tailed fox. All right, Naruto muttered to himself, clenching his fists. Time to meet you face to face. The idea of entering his mindscape had come naturally to him after his bloodline awakened. The overwhelming chakra and strange sensations had made him aware of the powerful force inside him. With a determined breath, Naruto focused his chakra, allowing his consciousness to slip into the depths of his mind. The mindscape. Naruto opened his eyes to find himself standing in a dimly lit sewer, water rippling under his sandals. Massive iron bars loomed before him, emanating an aura of suppressed rage and power. The oppressive energy was suffocating, but Naruto steadied himself, his determination unwavering. So, you're the nine-tailed fox, Naruto called out, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. A low, rumbling growl reverberated from the darkness, and Naruto's instinct screamed at him to run. Instead, he stood his ground, fists clenched. Come out. I'm not afraid of you. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. The towering beast he had expected was nowhere to be seen. Instead, a woman with fox ears, 9 flowing tails, and fiery crimson hair like his own emerged. Her human form was graceful, her movements fluid like a predator. She wore a traditional kimono with a fiery red and orange motif, resembling flames licking at the edges of fabric. Her sharp claws glinted, and her amber eyes locked onto him with an amused glimmer. Welcome, Naruto Uzumaki, the woman said, her voice silky yet filled with power. Naruto blinked, taking a cautious step back. Wait, who are you? Where's the 9 tails? The woman chuckled, her tails swaying behind her. I am the 9 tails, you foolish boy. Though I prefer to be called Kyuubi. Naruto's jaw dropped. Wait. What? You're supposed to be a giant, genderless fox. What's going on here? Kiyomi sighed dramatically, a smirk playing on her lips. That's the story you know from the memories you absorbed. But reality is rarely so simple, Naruto. The explanation. Naruto pointed a shaky finger at her. Start talking. How did this happen? Kiyomi folded her arms, leaning casually against the iron bars. First, let me clear up some misconceptions. Yes, I was created by the Sage of Six Paths when he split the 10 tails into 9 separate entities. Back then, I was indeed formless, pure chakra without a defined gender. The sage called me Kurama, a name I still hold dear. Naruto frowned. Then why? She raised a hand, cutting him off. Patience, child. Over thousands of years, I gained sentience and awareness beyond mere instincts. I observed humanity, its strengths, and weaknesses, and over time, I chose this form. It suited me better. But I never revealed it until now because it simply wasn't necessary. Naruto's mind raced, trying to process the information. So, you've always been like this. Kiyomi nodded, her gaze softening slightly. Yes, Naruto. I have always been female. I merely allowed the world to assume otherwise. It made interactions easier. Naruto scratched his head, still confused but accepting her explanation. Okay, so why show me now? Kiyomi's expression grew serious. Because we're connected, Naruto. I'm sealed within you, and I can see your thoughts, your struggles, and your dreams. Whether you like it or not, we're partners in this life. Naruto crossed his arms, scowling. Yeah, partners. Right. Like I have a choice in this. Kiyomi chuckled. You don't. But that doesn't mean I won't help you. Your strength is my strength, after all. Naruto's reaction. Naruto took a deep breath, his mind reeling. He had always known there was a monster inside him, but this was not what he had expected. Fine, he said finally. But don't think I trust you completely. You've got a lot to make up for. Kiyomi raised an eyebrow, her amusement clear. Oh, and what would you have me do, little one? Naruto glared at her. For starters, stop calling me, little one. Her laugh echoed through the chamber, rich and full of mischief. As you wish, Naruto. Now, is there anything else you wish to discuss while you're here? Naruto hesitated. If you're sealed in me, does that mean you know everything I'm thinking? Kiyomi's smile faltered for a split second, but she quickly recovered. Not everything, but I do have access to your thoughts and memories, especially the ones you dwell on the most. Naruto frowned. So, you know about the future. Yes, she lied smoothly. I've seen glimpses of it through your memories. But remember, Naruto, the future is not set in stone. It's shaped by our actions. Kiyomi's true thoughts. Unbeknownst to Naruto, Kiyomi was not being entirely truthful. The mysterious diary system had gifted her with her own version of the diary, allowing her to read Naruto's entries. She knew exactly what he planned and why. However, she had been explicitly forbidden from revealing the existence of her diary to him. Kiyomi glanced at Naruto, her expression unreadable. The boy is smarter than he appears, she thought. But he still has much to learn. For now, I'll let him believe my version of events. The sage's name. Wait, Naruto said suddenly, his eyes narrowing. You said the sage named you Kurama. Why'd you change your name to Kiyomi? Kiyomi's tails twitched slightly, but her expression remained calm. Kurama was the name given to me at my creation. It symbolized my power and my connection to the sage. But over the centuries, I desired a name that reflected my individuality. Kiyomi felt fitting. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Fitting how? She smiled slyly. It means pure beauty. Surely you can see why. Naruto groaned, covering his face with his hands. Great. My life just got 100 times weirder. A fragile alliance. Kiyomi stepped closer to the bars, her expression softening. Naruto, I know this is a lot to take in, but understand this, we are stronger together. If you let me, I can help you achieve your dreams. Naruto glanced up at her, his expression skeptical. Why would you help me? What do you get out of it? She smirked. Simple. The stronger you become, the less confined I feel. Besides, your dreams, they're not so bad. A world of peace and unity. Even I can see the appeal. Naruto's gaze hardened. Fine. But if you betray me, I'll find a way to deal with you. Got it? Kiyomi's laughter echoed through the chamber. Understood, Naruto. Now, go. We'll have plenty of time to talk later. Naruto returns. Naruto opened his eyes to find himself back in his apartment. He sat in silence for a moment, staring at his hands. A female 9 tails, he muttered, shaking his head. Just my luck. Despite his grumbling, a small smile tugged at his lips. For the first time, he didn't feel completely alone. Chapter 8: The Tutor and the Shadows. Chapter: The Tutor and the Shadows. The warm afternoon sunlight streamed through the windows of the Hokage's office as Hiruzen Sarutobi sat at his desk, a pipe clutched between his fingers. His brow was furrowed as he reviewed the Anbu report regarding Naruto Uzumaki's sudden awakening of a bloodline ability. The report detailed the strange incident where Naruto's hair briefly turned red, coupled with a spike in his chakra levels that caught the attention of the monitoring squad. Hiruzen sighed deeply. The boy's heritage was beginning to reveal itself earlier than expected, and the consequences could be far-reaching. A knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. Enter, he called, his voice calm but firm. 3 Anbu operatives stepped inside, each wearing the standard mask and uniform of Konoha's elite forces. Among them was Yugao Azuki, her cat-shaped mask hiding her contemplative expression. I've called you here to discuss an urgent matter, Hiruzen began, setting his pipe aside. Naruto Uzumaki has awakened a bloodline ability. I've decided he needs a tutor to guide him as he begins to explore his abilities. The Anbu members exchanged glances, though none spoke. Hiruzen's sharp gaze swept over them before continuing. This task requires more than skill. It requires patience, understanding, and a commitment to ensuring Naruto grows not only as a shinobi but as a person. I'll do it, Yugao said, stepping forward. Her voice was steady, but internally, her thoughts swirled. The diary. Naruto had written about her, his plans, his strange and almost unsettling certainty about the future. This was an opportunity to understand the enigmatic boy and uncover the truth behind what she had read. Hiruzen studied her for a moment before nodding. Very well, Yugao. I trust you'll handle this responsibility with the utmost care. As the other Anbu were dismissed, Yugao remained for a moment longer, her mind racing. Thank you, Hokage-sama, she said with a bow before leaving the room. Naruto's apartment. Naruto lounged on his worn-out couch, feigning boredom as he flicked through a tattered book. His mind, however, was anything but idle. The knowledge from the otherworldly soul he had absorbed gave him insight into the future, allowing him to maneuver events with precision. He was already aware that the Hokage had assigned someone to train him. His shadow clone, hanged into a book in Hiruzen's office, had overheard everything. When a knock echoed through his apartment, Naruto grinned inwardly but forced himself to appear surprised. Opening the door, he found a kunoichi in Anbu attire, her cat-shaped mask resting at her side. Yo! He greeted with exaggerated enthusiasm. I'm Yugao Azuki, she introduced herself, her tone professional but warm. I've been assigned to train you, Naruto. Naruto tilted his head, pretending to be curious. Train me. Why? You've recently awakened a bloodline ability, she explained, stepping inside as Naruto gestured her in. Hokage-sama believes it's important you have guidance. Oh, Naruto said, scratching the back of his head. Well, I guess that makes sense. Nice to meet you, Yugao-ni-chan. Yugao blinked at the affectionate term but decided not to comment. We'll begin tomorrow morning. Be ready by sunrise. Yugao's perspective. Later that evening, Yugao sat in her quarters, staring at her diary. The object had become both a source of fascination and unease. Flipping through its pages, she read Naruto's entries again, his plans for Konoha, his vision of uniting the shinobi world, and, of course, his intention to include her in his harem. She sighed, her thoughts conflicted. Naruto was just a boy, albeit a peculiar one with a mysterious connection to the future. His confidence in his abilities and the strange, almost prophetic nature of his writing unsettled her. Yet, she couldn't ignore the sincerity behind his words. I need to know more about him, she muttered to herself. The next day, the warm afternoon sunlight filtered through the narrow windows of Naruto's small apartment. Despite its modest size, it was filled with an odd sense of comfort that seemed to reflect Naruto's personality, energetic and full of hidden potential. Standing at the doorway, Yugao Azuki watched the young boy stretch with exaggerated enthusiasm. You're eager, Yugao said with a slight smile, crossing her arms. Of course, Naruto exclaimed. If I'm gonna be Hokage one day, I need to start training now. Yugao nodded, a small part of her amused by the confidence that radiated from the boy. But deep down, she knew there was more to him than his sunny demeanor. Thanks to the diary in her possession, she was aware of his true capabilities, though she resolved to keep that knowledge to herself for now. The training begins. All right, Naruto, Yugao began as she led him to a secluded training ground just outside the village. Before we get into any advanced techniques, I need to see where your skills are. We'll start with some basic exercises. Naruto groaned, puffing out his cheeks in mock annoyance. Basics. Come on, Yugao Nichan, I'm ready for the cool stuff. Patience, Yugao replied, a faint smirk on her lips. A strong foundation is the key to mastering anything. Naruto sighed but nodded, secretly pleased. He wanted to hold back, after all. Keeping up the facade of an excitable yet untrained kid was part of his plan to avoid suspicion. A day of training. The first task was simple agility drills. Yugao watched as Naruto darted between the wooden posts, his small frame weaving with surprising precision. She couldn't help but notice how natural his movements were, almost as if he had years of experience. Good, but keep your balance steady, she called out. Naruto stumbled slightly, throwing a hand in the air. Oops. Got it. He pretended to adjust his footing, but Yugao wasn't fooled. She'd seen the sharpness in his eyes and the deliberate way he altered his movements. Next, they moved on to hand-to-hand combat. Yugao crouched into a defensive stance, beckoning Naruto forward. Let's see how you handle close combat, she said. Naruto charged at her with an exaggerated yell, his punches wild and sloppy. Yugao blocked and deflected them with ease, though she noted the occasional flicker of true skill in his movements, an instinctive step back here, a perfectly timed feint there. You're holding back, Yugao said after dodging another punch. What? No way, Naruto replied, shaking his head vigorously. This is me going all out. Yugao raised an eyebrow, her lips curving into a knowing smile. If you say so. The final exercise was shuriken throwing. Naruto's enthusiasm seemed genuine as he hurled a handful of shuriken at the targets. Most of them hit the outer edges, with one or two landing on the ground. Not bad, Yugao said, her tone neutral. But you need to work on your aim. Naruto scratched his head, grinning sheepishly. Guess I need more practice. In truth, he could have hit the bullseye every time, but that would have raised too many questions. Yugao, however, wasn't fooled. She'd seen the calculated way he adjusted his grip and the precision in his throws. Yugao's thoughts. As they wrapped up the session, Yugao couldn't help but feel a mix of amusement and admiration for Naruto. He was playing the role of an eager, inexperienced child perfectly, but she knew better. The diary had revealed the depth of his knowledge and the plans he harbored. He's hiding his true strength, she thought as she watched him laugh at his own clumsiness. But why? She decided not to confront him about it. For now, she would play along, observing and guiding him while keeping her own knowledge a secret. Naruto's perspective. As Yugao dismissed him for the day, Naruto watched her walk away with a grin. He'd kept up his act flawlessly, though he could sense that Yugao wasn't entirely convinced. She's sharp, he muttered to himself as he headed back to his apartment. Guess I'll have to be even more careful around her. Despite the challenge, Naruto couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Training with Yugao was not only a step toward achieving his goals, but it also gave him a chance to gauge her personality and skills. One day, she'd be an important ally, and more, but for now, he was content to let things unfold naturally. First off, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for being with me on this journey. Your support means the world to me, and I truly appreciate each and every one of you for sticking around, even when updates may not come as regularly as I'd like. This chapter was a labor of love, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed writing it. I aim to delve deeper into the characters' emotions and the plot's intricacies, and I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Did the pacing feel right? Were there moments that resonated with you? Your feedback is invaluable and helps me grow as a writer. As always, I'm excited to see where the story goes next, and I can't wait to share more with you soon. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Keep those comments coming. They weren't just by his side, they were the fire that shaped his destiny. Some call it a bond. Others, a harem. But for Naruto, it was purpose. Milky Way, you've heard the beginning, but every secret has layers. Brain and the ones who want more, they don't wait, they act. Scroll because real stories aren't watched, they're followed. Fire, so if your mind's still wandering, maybe it's time to stay.